A very good day to you, our viewers of the Quo Vadis YouTube channel. It's yet another day where we bring you a whole new discussion here at Kubonga na My Youth Show. And bearing in mind that June is the Men's Mental Health Month, we want to talk about silent battles. What are these silent battles that men carry every day or in their lives? Because oftenly we do not talk about what it feels like to carry all these things as a man. And maybe you're asking yourself, okay, how is she going to discuss men's mental health and she's a woman? Of course, I am having someone, a guest on this set, to help me talk about this and issues surrounding men's mental health, and in particular, but the silent battles that men go through. As always, I'm your host, Edna Mumbi Maina. Welcome. Yes, so I am going to welcome my guest today, and I will allow him to introduce himself.
My name is Ndege Odur. I'm a sales support representative with the G2 staffing, but today I'm here on behalf of the Kenya Red Cross Society as a mental health and psychosocial support personnel. So it's Men's Mental Health Month, and it's a man for man. So we're here to stand for each other and have these candid conversations, the one that people like having behind the closets. Today we bring them live to you from the Quo Vadis Youth Hub. Thank you.
All right, welcome once more.
Thank you.
Let me start by asking you, are men suffering from silent battles? Do men have silent battles that are dealing with each and every day, or is it just something that we say but it's not there?
That's a good question, Edna. And to start with, I think each and every human, whether a man, a woman, indiscriminate of who they are or where they come from or what they've achieved, they do suffer some silent battles. And by silent battles, I mean the things that you won't want disclosed to the world, because they are things that you think are personal to you. But looking at it introspectively, then you come to realize that other people are also suffering from the same. So yeah, men do.
So before we get to what are some of these silent battles they suffer from, as it is our norm in this channel, we take random questions just to help the viewers get to know a little bit more about you, aside from the discussion that we are having today. So I'm going to allow you to pick a question and you can read it for us.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so would you rather go into the past and see your great-grandparents, or to the future to meet your great-grandchildren? The past is important to build the present, and the future is also critical, and it's built in the present. So I think I'd rather go to the past and meet my great-grandparents, because again, I get to see what vision they had for the future, so that when I come back into the future, I'm able to at least actualize some of the things that they got. For my great-grandchildren, they already have me, who is in the present, and I think I can do better to prepare the future for them.
What if you would, okay, maybe for me, I'd think if you would go to the future and maybe there are some mistakes that your grandchildren will make, that you can correct them or you can help them change. You wouldn't want that?
I believe that the Bible does tell us, now that we're in this setting, the Bible does tell us that He satisfies us with long life. So that long life means I'll live to the age of seeing my great-grandchildren, to the third generation probably. So when I get to the third generation, they'll be having a sage who will be sitting there to give them the wisdom of our age and their age, so that they don't make the mistakes that we are doing right now and continually are going to do.
Valid.
Yeah.
For me, I think I would also want to go to the past, merely because I'd like to see those that made me who I am today. Because I feel like for my great-grandchildren, they are a product of who I am today. So I feel like if I go to the past and I get to see, okay, this is what they envisioned for their child, whatever generation, to me, that will get to me, is it who I am today, or is it something I can change? So for me, I would also second that. I'd like to go back to the past and see my great-grandparents. So to our viewers, please tell us what you would rather Yes, there's no condemnation. Maybe you'd really want to go to the future and see all these things. Or maybe, because in the just say they are saying that, no offense, but they're saying that the lifespan in Endeki
goes on reducing.
Yeah, so in most cases, most people won't live to see their great-grandchildren. So maybe, I don't know. Please tell us. Comment down below and tell us what would you rather on your side. Yes, so let us now get to the silent battles. As a man, what are these silent battles that men are going through currently in our society, especially young men? Yes.
Now, I want to look at it from this angle. From the question that we've just tackled, we were looking at the difference in generations. There's the generations of our great-grandparents, and then there's the one that we are in currently, and then there's the one of our parents. And that's why they group us into what? Baby boomers, Gen X, Gen Alpha, Gen Z, and all that stuff. So looking at it from that angle, each generation has their own struggle. Because if you look at our grandparents, they didn't have to worry about land. They didn't have to worry about probably food. They didn't have to worry about so many things. But as we advance, especially technologically, and as we advance in terms of our thinking and even the society we live in, then things change. So there's a gap that exists between one generation and the next that has not found the bridging. So when the bridging does not happen, then there is that disconnect that happens. So the first silent battle that young men of the current age, or the ones that will come after us, are going to struggle from, or are struggling from, is identity. And by identity, I mean, like, who am I? As a person of Ndege, who exactly am I? Because nobody has helped them to get to the place of knowing what exactly defines my identity, the personality of who I am. I'll leave that at that, and then we'll come back to it. The second thing that most men will struggle with is, where exactly do I want to go to? That is purpose. So what is my end goal in terms of the purpose of which I'm living for? What exactly have I been brought here to accomplish or achieve? So purpose becomes two. Then three now are things that now interlace with the first two, because the first two serve as the cornerstones. So these two cornerstones, once they fail, then the rest will follow. That's why you come and now see things like addiction. And addictions, we have an array, whether it's drug and substance abuse, whether it's things on sexual addiction, and things like gambling. All these fall under the big umbrella of addiction. So those are just some of the many things that young men will suffer with in this age. And these, most of the times, are drawn from societal expectations and societal norms. Because remember, the previous society, that of our grandfathers and our fathers, will say that as a man, you should do A, B, C, D. There is no room for failing. There's no room for adjusting. There's no room for learning. But as we learn and we continue, we get to know that it is true that if you are human, then you're definitely going to err at some point. You're definitely going to be at fault at some point. So because you've been told that a man in the society cannot fail, then most people stay where they've fallen. They fail to pick themselves up and continue to the next step. And that is where we lose most men. So then the identity crashes with that. Their purpose crashes with that, because they're like, I've failed. I don't think I can be able to get to the end goal of where I see myself or where I want to be. So those are the things I'd say are the silent battles that most men fight. In
our society right now, the aspect of addiction, whichever type of addiction, is something that it has its roots in our society, especially amongst the men. And I like the fact that you say that it all emanates from identity. They are intertwined in one way or another. Now, these men are suffering from these silent battles that you've mentioned. Why is it difficult for them to talk or speak up or speak out of what they're feeling inside or what they're dealing with? Why is it difficult for them? Yes.
I'd love to introduce you to a concept called conformity. And by conformity, I mean, like, this is the normal situation, and this is what we are going to conform to. And remember, even the Bible reminds us in the book of Romans at some point that be not conformed to the patterns of this world, but be ye transformed by the renewal of the mind. So there's a renewal that must happen for somebody to get out of conformity and come into non-conformity, because it is non-conformity that will bring them to the place of being set apart, just like a vessel which will be used for noble purposes. So for you to rise to the place of nobility, then there is a non-conformity that must happen. So therefore, the society dictates and states a man should be strong, should be silent with what is happening in their life, and should not talk about it. So what do? We are born into that society, and then we conform. Yet in the age that we are going into, we know there's something I was studying in a school of leadership somewhere, and we were being taught understanding men and understanding women as two separate entities. So women tend to talk about what they go through. At the end of the day, they'll call their girlfriend, they'll call their mothers or their sisters, hey, my day was this way, and I went through A, B, C, and D, and this is how I think it affected me. They'll rant, they'll gallivant, and they'll release it, you see?
Yeah.
But for men, they'll be like, it's gonna be okay. It is well, even when it is not. So what happens? There's a build-up that happens, and then there are layers upon layers that will keep on building. So when the pressure comes in, the house will literally cave in.
Yeah.
And when the house caves in, it's too late to even come to the rescue. But because women on the other side, our counterparts, are getting out the small pieces, therefore progress over perfection. For men, we want to attain that perfection of, I want to deal with this thing once and for all, which ideally does not make sense. Because if today I go through abuse, tomorrow I'm also abused, and I keep quiet about it, probably anger will build up. Probably something else will keep on pressing. You know, it will be like, and then you find you start resenting people, you start avoiding social places, doing A, B, C, and D. At the end of the day, that is conformity. But then non-conformity happens in renewal, because when I speak out and then somebody speaks back and speaks life into me, then there's a renewal that happens. Let me give you an analogy, an example. If I'm having this cup, it's quarter-way full, and let's say it's dirty water, and then I keep pouring tap water, which is clean, into this cup, at some point, the dirt will flow out, and then it will remain pure. That is what happens exactly when you open up. So when you open up, the dirt that is inside is washed by life which is being spoken into you, which is the tap water. And then with time, you become fully clean and renewed. So it happens, and it is accentuated that if we keep quiet and we expect somebody else to come and sort our problems, then we are going to kill ourselves, because that dirt will pile up and will fill this gap. And once it blocks your vision and even the things that you want to see, because remember, part of purpose is vision. You have to visualize where you want to be for you to attain that purpose. Then it's possible that it will block your vision. This glass won't be clear anymore. It will be opaque. And when it's opaque, you can't see the other side of life. You can't see the beauty of life. You can't see the bright side of life. You can't see the joy that comes with life. So that is what I'd say, that we don't conform. We should fail to conform and now subscribe to non-conformity and renewal of the mind on this.
So I want us to get to maybe how social media, because as the generation that we are in currently is a media generation. It's all about what they hear and what they see and what is trending and all these things. I want us to talk about how social media is influencing how men view themselves. Maybe all these toxic, there are those people who say they are for men, but they preach toxicity into men. So I want us to get into that part of the discussion. But I will pick a second question. Before that, what is your go-to meal when you feel too lazy to cook? Do you cook?
I do.
All right. It's good to know that first. So what is your go-to meal when you feel too lazy to cook?
When I'm too lazy, my go-to meal will probably be something that will take me less time to prepare. So, but most of the times I prefer to eat out, and by eating out I mean getting to a restaurant somewhere, or a kibandaski, so for most of us. So I'd get to a kibandaski, grab a bite, and then I'll be done for. But when I have all the time to cook, then I take my time preparing meals.
Are you a good cook?
I'm a chef of some sorts, I'm told. Yeah, so I take my time. I'll take my time to buy my ingredients, prepare them, let them simmer, and just have a good meal.
For me, I think my go-to, it's not really a meal. I think I can just take Weetabix and sleep, or just fruit, something. And something that will just pick, make, or just eat. Yeah. Am I a good cook? Subject for discussion. Yes. Let's now get to that question of, is social media influencing how men view themselves? Yes.
From the word social media, there are two parts of it. There's a part that is social, and then there's media. And if I look at them keenly and do an in-depth study of what social means and what media means, human beings were social before the media existed. So when the media came in, it was just an addition to what we already knew. Because remember, in the days of our grandparents and in the days of our parents, they could have mushemanios, they could have some barazas, kwa chief, and all that stuff. So they could literally come together just for the purpose of conversation. And they knew that Nani wa Nani is probably the person who has a voice in this community.
Yeah.
There were people who were like recognizable. There were people who were given a state-of-the-art reception when they came to such meetings. So that was literally amplified into the media world. That's why it's called social media. It's social, but again, now it's media. So it means it can be accessed from any part of this world, and anybody can see what you leave as footprint. So then, does it affect how men view themselves and the personality of men? It sure does, and to a great extent. It has led to the deaths of men. It has led to people committing suicide. It has led to some losing their identity. It has led to people undermining and undervaluing themselves. Why? Let me take a classical case study. The most recent one that probably hit the airwaves was Halif Cairo, when now it was time for whatever cases following left, right, and center. And everybody came out to condemn, everybody came out to mock and to do what they did. And from his testimony, he says that those are some of the times when he was at the peaks when it comes to his mental health. Because even people that you helped will now rise against you. And it is part of human nature that we are forgetful.
Yeah.
And most of the times we look for any slight opportunity to be able to paint people badly. And we fail to be the hand that holds them when they're down, to lift them up, to raise them up. So what happens when I want to see something that I want to become, but I can't get there? People start looking for quick fixes, and then life frustrates you. An example, take an example. People have role models, they have icons, and then they have people they call idols. So let me give you an example of, let me use my example. I follow Vusi Thembekwayo when it comes to matters public speaking and oration, how he articulates, how he presents his facts, his thoughts and ideas. So therefore, on his Instagram, Vusi would wake up one day and he's flying. He's in Paris, sometimes he's in Dubai, he's doing some big conferences. Where I am right now, I've not built capacity enough to do what Vusi does, but I'm in the process of doing that. So because I've learned my identity and gotten to the point of understanding that, I don't have the pressure of being Vusi. But if somebody comes, wakes up and wants to get where Vusi has gotten to in only 2 days or 2 weeks, then they'll crumble under the pressure. The first question that we should get to ask each other before we get to want to mirror the life of Geff, who probably has taken time to build where he is, probably 20 or 30 years, is what amount of time have they invested for them to get there? What resources have they invested for them to get there? Because if somebody wants to become Edna on Ndege here, they must know what is the routine, what structures, what principles, and what strategies or what systems have you put in place for you to be who you are. And those are the questions that we fail to raise to ourselves. We only want to get there. That's why people will get into get rich scams and schemes. An example, today somebody flaunts some cash online, a vehicle, flying elsewhere, some tickets, and then you're like, they tell you, if you want to live a lifestyle like mine, join me, let's trade, let's do this and this. But have you assessed? How long have you done this for you to come and tell me, let's do this? Is it 3 years? So am I willing to sacrifice 3 years such that I get to that place? And is it a guarantee that where I want to be will definitely be my end? So people get into now, they start scamming people. And remember, anything that is, if you sow a seed of discord, be sure you reap that same seed of discord. So then, if you sow a seed of patience, of systems and structures, it means that that is the same seed that you reap. Because at the end of the day, you cannot plant a mango seed and then get a banana out of it or an orange. The same seed that you put in is the same seed that you'll come for harvest. So social media, yes, it influences a greater percentage of men's lives and how they view themselves and their identity. And allow me come back to the place of people who we are calling think tanks, or people who are like now coaches of men.
Yeah.
I tend to tell myself, like, of the information that we take in, or of the information that we get from the many voices that we have. You remember where we say that in a world of so many voices, there's that small voice that you go looking for. There's that still voice that you go looking for. Everybody has their opinion. Dege has an opinion. Every other man has an opinion about who a man is. And every woman might probably have an opinion who a woman is or a man is. But do you take time to take in what you have in the world and filter it and see what is it that actually applies to me and what I know? What is my truth and what is my reality? So what defines that truth and what defines what's called an abstract truth? And what defines a fallacy? Because if somebody tells you that as a man you should sit down and die with your problems, yet you know there's somebody you can help, then that information is not suitable for you. So if you go following people blindly because you see probably they have a huge number of followers online and people say that this has worked for me, not everything will work for everybody, because we say every straw, different strokes for different folks. So if I'm this folk and this stroke works for me, it doesn't work for another folk elsewhere. So do we receive this information and put it through the lens of truth and get to see that this is what we have presented to me and this is the lens of truth. So when I pass it here, does it pass the test?
So what are some of these ways that young men can take upon themselves to start opening up, to hold conversations about mental health, and to talk about the silent battles, what they're feeling, what they're going through? What are some of these ways that they can take upon?
The basic structure of life is the family unit. And recently there's been a conversation on the attack on the family unit, why you'd find we have single parenting. And therefore it means that we grow up without the image of who a mother is or who a father is. We have Mother's Day and we have Father's Day coming up, I think.
Yeah.
And every other time we say the first example of a man to a child is the father, or an uncle, or an elder brother somewhere. Because again, remember, we don't have control over situations of nature like a parent who passes on before you come to get to understand who a man is, really. So therefore, the question begs, how much time does the current generation of men spend around other men? Because most of the time we're either scrolling or binge watching or just somewhere online getting to see who a man is from people who are probably bitter, people who have not experienced what manhood really is, and they bring their abstract truth from what they've read from books or from what they've had. So, what time do we spend with our male counterparts and what time do we spend with our fathers? If you take a typical youth, even from the audience, and ask them, how many minutes do you have on a call with your father? The response will shock you. They'd say, mzai si huongea like 3 minutes. na hiyo ikienda sana ni juu probably anauliza story za masomo, story ya rent na vile life yangu inaendelea. 3 minutes. Typically, research says take an average woman and ask how many time, like how much time they spend with another woman, not less than 1 hour. So in 1 hour, there's so much that has been unpacked. In 3 minutes, what can you unpack? Because in 3 minutes, it will be, hi, how are you? Oh, I'm doing good, blah, blah, blah. My day has been this way. Done.
Yeah.
There are no details to it. There are no details of, I was in a group of people and somebody mentioned A, B, C, and D, which touched me or rubbed me the wrong way. So therefore, these are being packed and then we normalize them. We go back to conformity. And remember what we said about conformity, that the moment you conform, then you continue the cycle. There is no break to this vicious cycle. But when there is non-conformity and I can pick up my phone and I can call Kev for probably 45 minutes and I'm like, by the way, this and this happened. This is how I felt about it. We've shelved emotions and we've taken how we feel and we put it somewhere in a basket and said that it doesn't matter what you feel. Yet it really matters how we feel and what we feel. Because if it affects you this moment, be sure that it will affect you another time. And most of the times when things happen, it's not a product of that very moment. It's a product of something that has piled up over time.
Yeah.
For somebody to get to the point of raising a hand and beating somebody else, especially in abusive relationships or situations, then it is something that it is a bitterness that has built up over time. Something they've not dealt with, that now they come to bring out in this scenario because triggers have happened. So what is happening at the moment is a trigger, not the root cause. So how do we get to deal with these things? How do we get to start these conversations? I believe that platforms like this are one of the ways to try and have these conversations. And it's something that should not wait until it's Men's Mental Health Month or it is Father's Day or it is Men's Forum. It's something that should be continual, something that we should be at daily. It should be our second nature. That if I meet a man out there, if I meet a brother, if I'm meeting as a sister, I'm meeting probably my hubby or whatever, a husband or something, then you get to know that, how's your day been? Really sit down and tell me about your day. Can we have a conversation how you feel about A, B, C, and D? That we start conversations that will bring us to the point of understanding that how does the man's mind work? And what exactly are the things that they want to talk about in the world that the world does not give them a space to talk about? So we have to create that enabling environment for them to feel that, yeah, here I am loved, I am listened to, and I am heard. Because again, there's a difference between listening and hearing.
Yeah.
So it's a great gap that communication must constantly happen. And men also must learn to step up and take responsibility for their own mental health and for their own social well-being. You don't wait and sit back and not talk about stuff and then you say, oh, nobody listens.
Yeah.
You have to take the first step and the initiative of opening up for somebody else to listen.
Yes.
And you have to be critical about it. You see, the same way I'd rather miss something to watch a football match, the same way put aside everything else and prioritize your mental health. Because at the end of the day, that is the most important thing that will happen to you. And it's the most important value that you have to always invest in. If you don't invest in something, don't expect returns. Don't expect profit to come back to you. You have to put in something for something to come out.
Yeah.
And that cup must be full for it to empty into another. So also we must take time to invest time in learning, studying, listening, and getting the true value and version of who a man is and what makes a man be a man, and especially in terms of the mental health. Yeah.
I want us to end by this question. Maybe there is that time you felt like you're struggling from something, since life has everything happening in it. What is that one thing you wish you had at that time that you didn't hear? Yes.
Well, I'd look back to my younger days and my formative years. So it happened, I talk about this a lot when it comes to colorism. So colorism is my skin tone. As you see, I'm dark. And I take pride in this. I say it's truly African. So before I knew the true identity of who I was, or like who I am, then it used to bother me when somebody will talk about it. Then I'd feel offended. I'd feel like I'm being demeaned and all that. Until I came now to the realization that these are things that I can't change. That is something I struggled with for a long time. Until now I came to the realization that that is the true identity of who I am as an African. And then I embraced it. And now it's part of my fabric. And when anybody talks about it, I feel good, because I'm like, it is true, and it is good that you're identifying it. It's what makes me who I am. So then, how did I come to this point? Everybody has a breaking point in every habit, in everything that we struggle with, in everything that we suffer from. And it stems out of the conscious decision and the yearn and the urge to actually make it come to an end. That is where you soberly and consciously wake up and sit down and say that this and this, not again, not ever. And then it's a process that you have to find somebody to walk through with you. It's not something that you just say, it's going to end today. No. Somebody will mention it another day, and then it triggers memories, it triggers thoughts, it brings you back to the place that you come from. And then now you ask yourself, I thought I'd healed from this, why do I feel bad? And now you say, okay, one more time, one step at a time, one day at a time. For recovering addicts, there is a prayer they say that God grant me the serenity to accept the things I can change, whatever, they pray in that line. So when you learn to accept the things that you can change, there's a circle that we normally draw, and we say, these things are outside my control. And then these things are within my control. So how you were born, how you speak, or not necessarily speech, but where you come from, those are things you can change. But again, there are things you can change, like how you react to what Edna will say. There is a difference between being proactive and being reactive. Because being proactive is knowing Edna is going to say something that will anger me, and then I avoid that conversation or that situation and walk away from it. Being reactive is, I know Edna is going to say this, let me wait until they say it, and then I'm going to punch them. So being proactive puts you one step ahead of the situation, and it helps you discern and see that this is definitely going to happen, because I know this crew. So I'm going to try and step away from this, that it doesn't get me where I am. Or I'm going to positively think such that when it gets here, it will find me mentally ready. So I incline more towards being proactive in these situations than being reactive. The same will apply to addictions. Let me talk about drug and substance abuse, probably that addiction in particular. If I know that if I go to a party, there's a high possibility you're going to be drugged. So why don't I avoid going to partying all over? Just avoid it. And then find a substitute to it, probably playing football, because I know I'm going to get out of there exhausted. I'll get to the house and I'll definitely sleep. So then I've eliminated the causes. So I avoid first those places, and then I get into the spaces that will spur me and prosper me into what? Healing. If there's need, there's healing that needs to happen. And accepting that there is a problem first, then working towards making sure that this problem is solved is always the first step towards any healing. Seeing that this here, what I'm going through is a problem, and I need help with it. That will drive you into the path of getting help.
Thank you so much, Ndege, for joining me in this discussion. I wish, or I just hope that we are going to hold more discussions like this on men's mental health and even men in general, because we don't really have a lot of sitting and discussions that revolve around men's issues. So yeah, I'm also learning. It's also a point for me to learn, because of course, as much maybe you're a lady and you're like, this does not involve me. It does. You need to listen, because there are those men in your life that really need to hear such words, and maybe they cannot hear it from this discussion, but they can hear it from you, coming out from you. So thank you so much for shedding light into this matter. If you're a young man out there, you're going through something, you're suffering from silent battles, you don't have to carry it all alone. You have to understand that, or always remember that you matter. There are those that care for you, there are those that care about you. Your silence isn't weakness, but it's not the only option. Speak out, look for people to talk to, and also be someone that people can talk to. Yes, and with that, we'll be able to solve issues that feel like a whole mountain to us, but really through sharing, they seem like just a small anthill. Yes, so thank you so much for joining us in this discussion. We're going to have a lot more discussions on mental health, specifically men's mental health, so that we can make this a topic that is discussed and it is okay to talk about it and all these things. I will make sure that the next discussion we're going to have more men on the set so that we can hear different perspectives on this matter. So make sure to subscribe to our channel, to like and share and comment. Tell us, maybe is there something you'd like to add in whatever we've discussed, or is there a point that we've missed that you'd like people to hear? And see you until the next episode. As always, I'm your host, Edna Mumi Maina. Bye.
Bye-bye. Take care. Safisha Rada.